Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us today for this webinar. You just give few seconds for people to settle. Yep. So again, a very good morning and a good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for joining this seminar. We will be talking today a bit about unemployment protection, but before starting the program, maybe a few announcements. So first, this session is being recorded, and along with all the presentation, the material will be available on the website of socialprotection.org and be sent to all registrants after the session. We also have automatic caption if you need by clicking on the CC closed caption button at the bottom. And more importantly, this webinar will be offered in English and French. So we have simultaneous interpretation available. I'm sure by now we are all aware where to find this interpretation. You click on the globe button at the bottom of your screen and you can choose your language. We will also have a session to share your question and answer at the end, but you can as well during the presentation start sharing those questions on the Q&A box, and we will address them at the end of the seminar. And we also have the chat open now. I just see a pop-up message. The chat is open. So please present yourself, make your comments, and if you want to share any useful material or links, this is where to do it. Before starting our webinar on unemployment protection, we are very pleased to have with us Valerie Schmidt, our Deputy Director of the Universal Social Protection Department at the ILO. And Valerie Schmidt will give us a few welcoming words and as well a bit of a presentation on why this webinar and how does it fit within the ILO intervention to support countries as part of the Global Flagship Programme on building social protection flow. So Valerie, the floor is yours for a few minutes. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you all, and really a warm welcome to all the participants who are joining us today online. So today's webinar brings together many development partners, many countries, governments, social partners as well as ILO colleagues and, of course, colleagues from other UN agencies. So today's webinar, as Celine mentioned, really marks the kickoff of a series of webinars that is entitled Building Social Protection Floors for All, Key Achievements and Future Priorities of the ILO Flagship Programme on Building Social Protection Floors. We will have 6 webinars of this type. So this one is the first one, and other webinars will cover other key topics of the flagship program, including the extension of coverage to workers in the informal economy, financing social protection, social health protection, the role of statistics in building policy trust and advocacy, and we will have, I think, another topic that has not yet been fully confirmed. The objective of this webinar series is really to showcase key achievements from the second phase of the flagship program between 2021 and 2025, using very concrete examples of countries that have further developed their national social protection systems, especially across several branches like unemployment protection or extending coverage to groups of the population that so far were not covered, like the workers in the informal economy, and really look at the institutional changes that have happened and also the impact on people. Also, the objectives of this webinar series is also to highlight priority thematic areas that we want to focus on in the upcoming next phase of the flagship program, which will start in 2026 and end in 2030. And another objective, obviously, is to facilitate knowledge sharing across this big community of practitioners, of policymakers, social partners, and development partners that are really focusing on building social protection floors for all. And so it's really about connecting people together, sharing knowledge, and really increasing our shared understanding of how to develop social protection systems. Very briefly, Céline, if you allow me, I just wanted to give a few highlights on the flagship program during its second phase from 2021 to 2025. The flagship program has impacted around 60 million people worldwide who now enjoy greater legal or effective coverage and increased adequacy of their social protection benefits. We see also that through the thematic support or policy support that we have provided to countries in 50 countries, we have achieved around 149 policy changes or institution changes, such as new strategies and policies that were adopted in 43 countries, such as social protection schemes and programs that were introduced or reformed in 40 countries, and this includes obviously unemployment protection schemes, and such as very concrete measures to operationalize social protection, to digitalize the administration, etc., that were introduced in 66 countries, really contributing to making the legal coverage effective for many people. So we will present the key results of this flagship program on a very important day for us, the 19th of March, where we will organize a development partners meeting where you can you will be able to follow on the ILO TV as well. And this will also mark the launch of our third phase of the flagship program for the next 5 years. Before giving the floor back to you, Céline, I just wanted to really thank you and thank all the partners that have really contributed to this area of unemployment protection as part of the flagship program. To thank to all the governments and social partners that are here today, and those also who are not here today but have contributed to the extension of unemployment protection in their countries. And yes, and so I wish you all a very successful event today. Thank you, and back to you, Céline.
Thank you very much, Valérie, for this introduction and for highlighting the great result of the flagship program. So now, on my behalf, also a very warm welcome to every participants, also our distinguished speakers and partners to this first webinar of the series on unemployment protection. Unemployment protection, an achievable and necessary policy on unemployment protection. It's because we know, we all say it every day, the world is currently facing profound and overlapping transformations, looking at the climate change, at the digitalization of the economy, but also the fast introduction of the artificial intelligence in our work and our life. And alongside this transformation, we also face more frequent and complex crises. I mean, the COVID recently is just one example, but also we have uncertainty in the geopolitics and internationally also under trade with the globalization really linking all countries. So for this reason, unemployment protection has become more important than ever. And we know, we already have evidence that when properly designed, and effectively coordinated with active labor market policy and public employment services, unemployment protection can play a critical role to support workers, enterprises, economies, as well as families to navigate on these changes. Why? It helps secure income during job transitions, preventing poverty, and it also supports jobs search and skill matching so people return to the formal economy. So, and more broadly, what we also know, it's unemployment protection can really effectively support structural transformation and also a just transition to greener economies. The ILO last year released the World Social Protection Report on focusing on the role of social protection to support the climate action and a just transition. However, despite all these evidences, all these good country examples, unemployment protection remains the least developed branch of social security worldwide. Only 16.7% of those unemployed actually receive a benefit when they need it, whether through contributory or non-contributory schemes. And unfortunately, among those who do not receive benefits, we find the workers in the informal economy, we find the self-employed, we find the workers in the agriculture, the youth, the migrant workers. And those remain with no protection. So as you can hear, extending unemployment protection is indeed a necessity. And in today's webinar, I will demonstrate that unemployment protection is also achievable, even in countries with complex and diverse labor market structures. We have good examples. And those examples we're bringing today comes also from Indonesia and Morocco, where we will look at how these two countries have addressed the key design and implementing challenges, including in those very diverse and complex labor markets. And how did they manage to extend coverage to ensure the financial sustainability? And what are their examples in linking unemployment benefits with public employment services, active labor market policy? And those reforms were also conducted through effective social dialogue with the workers and employers representative. So we will start first with Mr. Jatmiko, the Deputy Director of Operations and the Service Channel of BPJS Employment of Indonesia, who will share Indonesia experience in implementing the scheme and already some reflection on lesson learned. And then we will continue with Mr. Lakbakbi, the head of the Department of the Budget Directorate of the Ministry of Economy and Finance of Morocco, who will tell us about the ambitious and visionary reform ongoing now in Morocco to extend the jobless indemnity, the unemployment protection schemes in Morocco. And we will be very pleased after this two-country presentation also to hear from Mr. Vicente Ortega Camara, the General Director of the Agency for International Development Cooperation in Morocco, who will share with us a partner perspective. Valerie insisted on the importance of working in partnership, and he will share with us his perspective, highlighting why supporting unemployment protection is a strategic policy choice. And we will follow this presentation with a discussion and reflection, about 30 minutes, on how we can also extend unemployment protection to those who do not contribute to social insurance, the self-employed and the informal economy. So with that background, I would like to thank you once again for being with us today. And I have now the pleasure to give the floor to our first speaker, Mr. Jatmiko. Thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, Celine. Let me try to share my screen. Well, okay. Thank you very much, Celine, for the opportunity, and thank you very much for having us to share the experiences of Indonesia in implementing unemployment benefit. And I would like to begin my presentation with giving and sharing with you the historical context to give you an idea of the system and then why we implement the unemployment benefit in the 2021. So it is mandated by law. It is actually mandated by our constitution in 1945. But then along the way, in 2004, we had the mandate to reform the system. And 11 years after the act, we have the establishment of these two organizations, unifying the previously highly fragmented one into one big system delivered by these two organizations. And we are now sharing with you the experience of BPJS for employment, which one of its main function is to deliver its unemployment benefit. And the other organization is the Social Security Organization for Health, in which it has achieved its universal coverage by 2024, 2 years ago. So I would like to keep this as the context of our basis, because after 2015, 7 years afterward, we have this unemployment benefit. So it's a newly implemented program as part of the reform of the law in job creation. So we have the new act in 2020 to reform the labor market, in particular for the job creation. And one of its mandate is to have the unemployment benefit. We began the implementation by collecting the contribution in February 2021 and start to deliver the benefit in 2022. So from this, we can see, and we would like to highlight as well, this program was implemented in the midst of not so ideal labor market. So we can say this because when we begin this program, only 42% of the workers working in the formal economy. That's one thing. The second one, which we think also needs to be highlighted in this session, the unemployment benefit is not only delivered by our organization in the center like here. We also share the role with the Ministry of Manpower, which then provide the services of the labor market information, the job opportunity, the demand and supply side, and also the provision of the vocational training before the workers having or experiencing the termination reintegrated into the new labor market. And also we have the Ministry of Finance, which has the function to contribute the subsidy for the contribution, and the other organization, because we then compare the data as part of the eligibility criteria when we enroll the workers into the system. So in short, we have two important things when we begin these implementations. It only available for those working in the formal economy here. And not only those working in the formal economy, this program also only eligible for those working in an employer which consider by law comply to the act available in Indonesia. Yeah. For those working in the employer who are not comply, then they are automatically not registered in the unemployment benefit. There are two important factors in the eligibility of unemployment benefit scheme. And then talking about the contribution, it was 0.36% of the wage, which has the ceiling of 5 million Indonesian rupiahs, equals to $320 USD. And 0.22 are subsidized by the government, and 0.14% are the recomposition of the other program contribution. So it's basically a program without additional contribution because it's the last program implemented in the system. But the members, in this case, the employers and the employee, do not have to pay any additional contribution. That's for the contribution. After 2021, in 2025 itself, we have 17 million people registered in the system. The progress is okay, but we still have the rest of the people are not registered in the system for two possibilities. One is they are working for the employer who are not comply. And the second one, they are not yet registered in the system. So 17 million after 5 years. And then we also need to emphasize, even if we have 17 million people registered in the system, not all of the 17 having termination are eligible to access the benefit. Those who resign voluntarily, those who experience permanent disability, those who get the retirement age or death, or those having termination because of ending of the contract also are exempted in the benefit of the unemployment benefit. So if you pay attention to the details, this system, even though it is implemented amidst the not so ideal labor market, it was designed in a very rigid way in the spirit of the prudent principle. So in the benefit, we have the vocational training here with the maximum of 2.4 million Indonesian rupiah each training, so it equals to 160 USD, and it has expiry benefits after 6 months. If they got terminated and then they are not accessing the benefit until 6 months, then the benefit will be expired, and they will get the cash benefit 60% of their wages for the 6 months after the terminations. So this is the scheme of the benefit, and a part of this, we also have the labor market information provided by the Ministry of Manpower. So that one is for the benefit. And during their membership, the members only eligible to access this benefit 3 times maximum their lifelong career, 3 times every 5 years. So that is the first criteria. The second one is to access this benefit, the members need a minimum of 24 months of membership. So it's 2 years membership minimum with minimum of 12 months contribution. If they don't meet this criteria, they also are not eligible to access the benefit. This and also the eligibility, 6-month expiry date. This is for the eligibility. And if we see the claimants, we have an increase in 2025 in terms of benefit. In terms of person also have an increase, and we also have an increase in terms of period of cash benefit paid here. So we can say that the general trend is people having the cash benefits for maximum 6 months. JKP for, and if we also see the profile, the interesting part is people working in trade and services industry or sectors. Based on the data that we have, they are the people working in the most vulnerable contract, because the unemployment benefit only eligible for those terminated in between contract. If they end the contract normally, then they are not eligible for the benefit. So it's a very rigid program. And if we are looking at the age, we also see people in the very productive age are accessing the benefit. That one is for the cash benefit. But if we get a look in more detail, what interesting for me to share in this session is people accessing the vocational training is very low. So people accessing the cash benefit is increasing, but the trend for them to have the vocational training is very low. So it shows us that we need a space of improvement to design the vocational training or the job training to be more related to the labor market needed in the market. So this is one interesting thing. The cash benefit is increasing, the job training remain low. So based on that experience, we think we have a lot of lessons learned. The first one is now the criteria to be enrolled and the criteria to be eligible to the benefit is still very rigid. So we need to also expand and make the criteria to be more accessible to the people, because currently it only available to the formal working members, and the formal working members also those who work in the employer who are comply to the law. Those identified as not comply, then automatically not eligible to the system. In terms of supply and demand in the labor market, we can see from the interest of the workers to access the vocational training is still very low, meaning that we need to also improve the active labor market to be more suitable to between demand and supply. But one last message that we would like to share in this session: unemployment benefit is beyond administration. It's not only an administration. I shared with you earlier that we began the implementation of the unemployment benefit in the midst of very complex situation, a so-called unideal labor market system, but the government has committed to have this unemployment benefit as a buffer for them to be able to be reintegrated into the labor market. So the most important things in this unemployment benefit implementation, how we harmonize the initiatives. As we can see in the slides, we have a lot. We have many initiatives delivered by the government, but highly fragmented, and they are not well harmonized. So this macro policies integration is one lessons learned that we need to accelerate to be able to deliver the unemployment benefit better and more decent to the members. I think Indonesia is an example of a country who bravely initiate the unemployment benefit to the members to support the commitment of the government to accelerate the labor market there. And that's the experience of Indonesia. I hope it gives you an idea of the context of unemployment benefit in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko, for this very interesting and inspiring presentation. And also congratulations on the amazing result achieved across the past few years. If I may, a lot of very important messages in your presentation, maybe three that I can highlight, but this is only based on my personal judgment of the most important. What you said as an important lesson learned, opening the qualifying condition is important. And we heard you also, you mentioned it's important, especially when you launch a scheme, to make it attractive for the population and also to improve the protection. And you highlighted the situation of the short-term workers. We haven't talked about the part-time workers, but in many countries also there's an exclusion of part-time workers. And we often find women in those jobs of short-term and part-time. So expanding the qualifying condition will indeed help to protect those in need. And the second message I take away is the importance of linking with active labor market policies and vocational training and employment services. And also the challenges it represents to have the institution ready to support. And this is a very interesting approach and very interesting discussion as well that we will hear also from the other speakers. So thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko, for this presentation. A lot of very good messages. We'll get back to them in the Q&A session. Thank you. And now let's move to another continent. Let's land in Morocco with Mr. Lakbakbi. And Mr. Lakbakbi, we are all ready to listen to your presentation. La présentation va être donnée en français. Donc, on donne quelques instants pour que chacun...
The presentation will be then in French, and we'll give you the time to switch to another language. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Celine. Thank you for giving me the chance and opportunity to present Morocco's experience in terms of generalization of social protection in the country. Donc, next slide. I have the following outline, very briefly. History of social protection in Morocco, general framework of social protection, the main areas of generalization of social protection, unemployment benefits in Morocco. We talk about salaried workers as well as self-employed workers. Next slide. So the history of social protection in Morocco, it dates back to independence. The regimes were put in place in 1959, and then there was a change in 1963. There was a text on public indemnities, and in 2005 we generalized the unemployment regimes for public employees, and then we covered the vulnerable people by the government. 2021 is an important date. It was the date of universalization or generalization of social protection in the country. In fact, the general framework of social protection dates back or is complying with international standards. And those international standards have been incorporated in the national standards. The stipulates that the state, public institutions, territorial localities should provide and mobilize resources in order for people to enjoy their fundamental rights, namely social protection. In 2021, the framework law was adopted related to social protection, and it was a mechanism in order to generalize social protection. On the basis of this law, we refer to international standards like the Convention 162 of the minimal standards of social security of the ILO, in addition to ODDs. As far as generalization of social protection, we would like to say that those are direct orientations by the king. In October 2020, he called for the generalization of coverage, medical
insurance,
coverage.
health and insurance. He had defined different steps, different dates to be respected. In 2022, the compulsory health insurance, and after that family schemes as well, and family pensions, and in 2025, 2026, the generalization pertaining to the pension scheme and access for unemployment benefits and for unemployment protection schemes. This is what I was just saying. This is how in Morocco we have generalized our schemes. We have four main axes: compulsory health insurance, pension scheme, we have the unemployment protection schemes, among others. Regarding the unemployment protection schemes for different employees, here are the different legal frameworks that regulate that aspect of insurance. We have law number 65 of 1999 with its article 53, but the scheme itself with the deadlines, with the duration, service duration, with the different criteria and different modalities, these have been perfected in 2014, law number 3 of 14, which modified and completed law number 1 in Morocco. There is as well an executive decree which has defined the fees as well to be paid based on each branch. This is a general feedback about those who are covered. Of course, we do not have the same cohorts. 4 million employees here in the first cohort, those who work in private companies, those who adhere to the pension schemes, to the social protection schemes. We have as well the different divisions based on age. We can see the pyramid of age, those who are covered, and we can see as well the different fees and the evolution of the minimum fees that are paid. We can compare as well the fees compared to the monthly salaries, around 5,000 liras, and this is the average of 2016. We can compare that as well to the monthly fees as well that are paid. There are ceilings as well, or caps that have been identified, and the cap was 3,300 in 2016. And you can see here how the monthly pay has been evolving to the right as compared to the fees as well. We have now 4 million persons in 2024 that were covered by the insurance. You can see here on the next slide the main objectives. The objective here is to accompany the employees who have lost their employment. There are unemployment benefits, monthly unemployment benefits that can be covered up to 6 months of salaries. This scheme is managed by the National Social Security Fund, CNSS in French, and this is the Social Security Fund that manages all the different schemes pertaining to insurance in Morocco: health insurance, pension schemes, unemployment protection schemes, among others. And this fund will be always managing not only the private but the public sector employees, those who are affiliated with the National Social Security Fund, and those who are targeted by the unemployment protection schemes are those who have lost their jobs unwillingly, and they can systematically adhere to the fund. Of course, there are different conditions that to adhere to the fund. First, the person should have lost his or her job. The person should be registered as seeking a job, as a job seeker at the ANAPEC, and the person should have the ability to work. These are the eligibility criteria, and there should be as well a justification pertaining to a minimum insurance period of 780 days during the last 3 years, so 260 days during the 12 last month, and these periods are validated when compared to the voluntary insurance criteria. Regarding the scheme and the parameters, this has been integrated in one of the branches of the short-term insurance coverage. So they aren't managed alone as a standalone cohort, but as part of this short-term insurance. Of course, there are well-defined fees that should be paid that we can see here. So the financing of this branch in particular relies on fees that are paid based on the 6,000 liras salaries per month, so 0.57% of those who are employed and who are declared and who are registered at the fund. We notice that 1.57% of the salaries are to be paid to the fund, 1.05% are paid by the employer, and 0.52% by the employee. So this is what I was just telling you, 0.57% of the salaries that are declared to the fund. We have them divided as 0.19% paid by the employee and 0.38% by the employer. The state as well has supported or has supported this fund, 500 millions approximately. 250 were initially allocated, and the others will be allocated when needed. We have, in addition to that, a strong commitment from the state to cover these fees. Regarding the duration and the amount to be paid, so 70% of the declared monthly salary during the last 36 months preceding the employment, without, of course, exceeding the minimum salary. And this pension is paid for 6 months, for a maximum of 6 months, starting from the day the person loses their job. When eligibility criteria is reunited, all the criteria are reunited, the person can benefit from this pension, from the scheme, unemployment benefits. We can see the different figures between 2018 and 2024. In 2024, we have had 4 million persons that were covered by the scheme with a monthly number of around 3 million for those who are covered. Regarding those who have lost unwillingly their job, 1.78% of those have lost their job unwillingly, and those can benefit from this scheme, unemployment protection scheme. In 2024, 26,706 persons benefited from the scheme, 20,000 men and around 6,000 women. Regarding the different beneficiaries and how these figures evolved from 16,000 in 2018 to 26,000 approximately in 2024, the average duration of paying this this pension around 5 months, 5.4 months. The average was 2,800 in 2024. This is the average pension that was paid to those who are unemployed, those who are unemployed, those who are who have unwillingly lost their jobs. We notice here as well how the graph changes when we compare the amount paid by the fund and the amount supported or subsidized by the state. So in Morocco, we can have a larger cohort. More people can benefit from the scheme because more money will be allocated to cover these pensions. Regarding the capacity and regarding whether more people can benefit from the scheme or not, the government takes that this decision. Of course, certain measures pertaining to this scheme for those who have lost their jobs. So these measures are taken by the government, and the different durations as well and periods are defined by these executive measures. Some reforms will be initiated. The government is open to all suggestions, and the government has even adopted a scenario, tried a simulation to try and see how things will be if the insurance periods will be extended beyond the time, so the periods that were defined. I wanted to talk mainly about those tracks, the different tracks that we have, the different schemes that we have. We are now trying to improve the schemes pertaining to those who have unwillingly lost their jobs. We have been working as well on technical assistance. The Spanish cooperation as well has helped us through all the schemes that we have prepared. The texts are being prepared, the calculations have been made. We are still waiting, of course, some political decisions to implement the amendments and all the reforms. Thank you, Mr. Lakbakbi, for this visionary reform in Morocco. It is everything that you shared is very important. Of course, many messages, very important messages were shared, and we'll come back to that later in the Q&A session. But you were talking about the importance of sustainability, financial sustainability, and we have noticed, like in Indonesia, the fees are not very high, so less than 1%, 0.57% in Morocco and 0.36% in Indonesia approximately. So these schemes can be implemented with relatively low fees. And you talked as well about the different calculations that were made, the actuary studies and calculations that were made to support this financial sustainability. And these actuary studies are very important instruments, not only to be able to estimate and anticipate the contributions rate and their sustainability, but as well as a tool that can help inform the social discourse or rhetoric. Different stakeholders can have evidence, can have proof before identifying the scenarios that can be allied to the international labor standards. Thank you, Mr. Lakbakbi, for this presentation. We will stay in Morocco with Mr. Ortega from International Cooperation. I will give you the floor. You can speak in English or in French. Mr. Ortega, thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you, Celine. Thank you, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be with you. Since the official language here is Arabic, and since the second main language is French here, I will be speaking in French so that we have a balance between English speakers and French speakers. This workshop is extremely important. In fact, here and in all the meetings that were held with the ILO teams. We have been sharing experience and lessons. The aim is to have a clear benchmarking, and the job that we have done, this activity was very important. It is a continuous learning curve, if I could say so. Regarding the Spanish cooperation, I will tell you more about what we do and how we do our job. We have been supporting Morocco for the past 30 years, first with the Taysir plan that was mentioned. We've worked as well with the National Assistance Authority as well and scheme. We have as well supported them with the compulsory health insurance and in other tracks in Morocco, in the Maghreb country regions, and across the world. Social protection is a right, a human right, and this right is at the core, at the heart of the work of the state and the government. This is why we share with Morocco this shared vision. So, of course, in light of the importance of joint collaboration, the aim is to consolidate these rights for all citizens. When Morocco initiated this generalization process 10 years ago, we have been supporting them. Of course, in Spain, sorry, we have a limited experience as well in this field. We have entered into a democratic process of including everyone in the schemes, and we have witnessed many turning points, and we have witnessed many similar experiences to Morocco across our activities. We have unemployment problems that are common between us and Morocco, the inclusion of youth in the labor market, inclusion of women in the labor market. All these are common challenges faced by Morocco and Spain. And this is why I can say that protection against unemployment was considered as a major challenge and as a major right to be ensured, whether in Morocco or in Spain. In Spain, we have integrated the social protection and mainly unemployment protection schemes into the larger social protection scheme. We have stressed on the international solidarity, intergenerational solidarity. We have stressed on the importance of the responsibility of the state, and we have moved step by step until now, where we are now. And recently, in 2021, we have included unemployment protection schemes for the freelancers, for the liberal professions. And this was an advancement, a recent advancement, if I could say so, in Spain. We have witnessed, we have faced many crises. We have suffered from an economic crisis, financial crisis, and we have made many huge leaps in order to ensure that coverage, that social protection to everyone. Again, all our experience was put at the service of Morocco. We shared our experience with Morocco and with the ILO. We were able to join our forces. We worked in a coherent manner, and this is how the joint collaboration with Morocco was even more efficient, thanks to the sharing of experience between us, the ILO, and the Moroccan stakeholders. There are many structural challenges, of course, that we have faced, and these structural challenges are similar to our regions. Of course, we needed to work on all the mechanisms aiming at supporting women, supporting young people, supporting all employees. We needed to have a coherent intervention, a coherent action, and we needed to define the gaps for us to be able to bridge them. So, of course, it wasn't about copying the Spanish experience to Morocco, but rather about learning from the challenges, from the same image, if I could say so, from the same problems, from the strength, if I could say so. We had this peer learning experience, and thanks to the partnership with the ILO, we were able to close that circle, to enter into this virtuous circle, as we say. We have defined the threshold and the ceiling in Spain and Morocco, and in different countries, different social security funds are working on promoting social cohesion. The aim is not only to have contributors, not only to have enterprises or employers paying for this fund, but having as well this fiscal policy, having as well taxes that are collected to fund as well the social security fund. So again, there are many gaps that need to be filled, and this fund is not a private mutual fund, if I could say so, but a fund that is supported as well by different stakeholders in order to be able to generalize the coverage to everyone, to the contributors and to the non-contributors, with the ILO, with different stakeholders in Spain and in Morocco. And if we truly involve everyone in our countries as well, so what applies to Spanish applied to Morocco as well, the dialogue was extremely important, involving all stakeholders, private and public stakeholders was very important. The collaboration as well with the Ministry of Finance led to a structural change, and this is why we are seeing all these changes in Morocco. We have been working with the Ministry of Finance in Morocco and with the different stakeholders, and this is why, and this is how we are able to get all these positive results for everyone. This is a structural change. We have worked with the Ministry of Labor, with different stakeholders across different sectors, but involving the Ministry of Finance was extremely important. When we talk about social justice, we cannot but involve all stakeholders. In Morocco, the greatest change occurred when the Ministry of Finance became committed to that work. After that, the situation improved, and in the budget of the state, these structural changes were noted, were identified, and this is how the coverage, social coverage, the social protection was generalized, so everyone could benefit from the social protection scheme, whether those employed or those unemployed, and even those who have the liberal professions, those who are working as freelancers, or those who are working for their own account. It was very important as well to have the legal frameworks that accompany these technical advancements, these technical reforms for legitimacy, in order to truly be able to enshrine these rights. We needed to enshrine these rights in the frameworks, in the legal frameworks, and the legal texts. So in addition to funding practically on the ground these schemes, we needed to enshrine these rights in the legal frameworks. In Spain, for example, we have learned that social protection is not only about about financial coverage, but about trust. When we talk about a human right, we have a clear legal framework. We have a social protection to everyone, those who work and those who do not work. And we in Spain learned about the importance of involving the different state actors, public and private entities. To conclude, I would like to say that experience shows us in Morocco that we need a legal construct, we need laws, we need legal frameworks, but at the same time, we need an administrative system, a good governance system that is functional, that is accessible to everyone, to all citizens, whether men or women alike, to rural and urban persons, and for the most vulnerable, the Spanish cooperation and with the ILO will always be willing to accompany Morocco, the ambitious milestones that Morocco is making. We are at your service. We are always ready to reinforce this protection against unemployment. We are willing to support you in unemployment protection schemes and in all the other protection schemes that you deem necessary.
Thank you very much for this intervention. Really inspiring messages, really encouraging messages as well. And indeed, we're very happy with this partnership with the cooperation, the Spanish cooperation. Spain is one of the few countries that has successfully managed to extend to self-employed workers. And this is why we also looked at it. We have few other countries in Europe, but Spain is really an example in this area. And thank you very much also for your support during this partnership we had together with Mr. Lakbakbi in Morocco. We have few very interesting questions in the chat, and I would like also our distinguished speakers to respond themselves. If you allow me, there are a few questions that are a bit recurrent concerning also how we extend the coverage to workers in the informal economy, those who are not formalized, those who do not have the contributory capacity. And if you allow me just 2 minutes to respond in a more general sense to this question, and then I will also like to hear your experiences both in Morocco and Indonesia. I had prepared 2 slides. If our colleague from AECID.org can just help us exactly. We were talking about the unemployed this morning, but I would like to say we need to protect those who are unemployed, but not only. If you look at this graph, what we see is the unemployed, only a minority, I would say, of persons who need some support when they lose their job, when they lose their income. What we also need to take into consideration is those who would like to work, but who are not actively looking for a job anymore because they lost hope that they will find a suitable job. And we have this population also increasing, those who we call the inactive outside the labor force. And we may also find in this population women who have decided to stay home because they are not even trying to find a job anymore. In addition to that, we also have the young people who have lost hope of finding a job, so they're just staying home. As you know, a person unemployed is defined as someone available, capable, but also actively looking for a job. And in addition to those unemployed, we also have those who are only partially employed. They would like to work more hours, but unfortunately, the status of the labor market, the situation of the labor market does not allow them to work full time. Also, although they would like to, they're also considering as partially unemployed, and we also need to take into consideration their need for unemployment protection. We also have, and this is a large majority, the working poor. Those who are working, but unfortunately not earning sufficiently to leave them above the poverty line. If I just take a recent report released by the ILO last week, the Employment and Social Trends 2026, the unemployment rate globally stagnated at 4.9% globally. So you see, those that we really consider unemployed, that we see in this yellow rectangular in the middle, is not the majority of the population who needs support. To compare with another figure, the report also tells us that 2 out of 3 persons in low-income countries is considered still as working poor. So we also need to provide support for those populations who are not statistically recognized as unemployed, who are outside the formal labor markets, who are not obtaining the job that they aspire for. And next slide. And when we talk about unemployment protection, and I thank you, our panelists, for reminding us the importance of the International Labour Convention related to social security. We talked about the Convention 102, the Convention on Social Security, the minimum standards of Social Security, the Convention 102, that has a part on unemployment protection. We also have a very interesting another convention on employment promotion and protection against unemployment, the Convention 168, that really look at this broader aspect of unemployment protection by not only considering contributory and non-contributory schemes, as Vicente has presented in the case of Spain, and that is included in the Convention 102, it also look at the importance of linking with employment promotion. And when you look at this visual support, you see that in fact, unemployment insurance is only one box, one measure, one policy among all the different policy instruments we can deploy to support people who need benefits, who need income security when they lose their job. So of course, we also have the social or unemployment assistance. We also have early retirement. We could talk again about the case of Spain in this just transition from the brown or the mining sector to the greener economy, where also early retirement was one of the options included in the package. But when we talk about unemployment protection, we also make the link with the employment services, the vocational training, the support to entrepreneurship, the public work program. So those are measures that will not only support those in the formal economy, but those are also measures like social and unemployment assistance, like on this public work program and other employment, active labor market policy. Those are the measures that can be designed and implemented to support workers in the informal economy, to support self-employed, to support the young people, to also move gradually towards a more decent and more formal jobs. So I just wanted to give this important message that when we talk about unemployment protection, we don't only talk about unemployment insurance, but we talk about this larger spectrum and possibility of policy instruments. So thank you very much. And now I would like to get back to the question because some were very interesting, and I am not sure everybody could access the chat. And maybe we can also hear from our distinguished panelists their answer. If I take the question in order, Mr. Jatmiko, you had a question regarding the self-employed, whether they were covered in Indonesia, and also what kind of enrollment did you set in Indonesia? If it was mandatory from the start, if it was voluntary, and you saw the question, please, if you want to also add in your response and respond to some of the other questions you had. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Celine, and thank you also for the response. Yeah. One important message that we would like to highlight from Indonesian case is this is the case from a developing countries, which in Indonesian case, we do not have an ideal situation in the case that we do not have an active labor market yet. But the government considered this program as a very important process to be part of the initiative to create job creation in the labor market. Yeah. So the design of the system from the very beginning is very rigid. So there are a lot of exemption in the eligibility or the criteria of the membership. Firstly, it only available or eligible for those working in the formal economy. And not only that, those eligible are those working in the company who are categorized as comply. So if the question then, how do you identify those who are comply and not comply? So the easiest one are two basic indicators. They need to be registered in the pension program, otherwise they are not eligible. So its purpose is to raise the awareness of the company to make sure the people are registered in all programs provided by the government. That's the first one. The second one is they need to be registered as well in the health benefit from delivered by another organization. Good one is since 2024, we have achieved the universal coverage. So we do not have any problems in this category, but the awareness of the company to also register all of the employees in all programs delivered by the government is one thing that needs to be answered there. Why? We design this rigid system. We need to learn the trend of the industry based on the data registered by the company, including the mobility of the employees. They move from one industries, they move from one region to another region, how we map the trend of the weights in one sector to another sector, one region to another regions, in order to have a map of what picture of the active labor market we need to design. That's why one of the indicator we need to accelerate is the design of the training to integrate the workers into the new job offering. Yeah. So if you are talking about unemployed, informal economy, or part-timer, unfortunately, currently they are still exempted in the system. But once we have more beautiful picture in the active labor market, then we can expand the system. But one thing we need to emphasize, the government of Indonesia bravely and committed to begin and initiate this unemployment benefit.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko, for going back to this important commitment of the government. Indeed, despite the still informality in the labor market, there was a strong commitment to introduce the unemployment protection branch. I will give the floor to Mr. Lakbakbi, but then I will respond to maybe some other question on how this unemployment protection system can also help preventing the informality that we have seen. We have evidence from other countries as well. Mr. Lakbakbi, il y avait des questions aussi dans le Q&A. Je vais essayer. Oui, vous les avez vues aussi, hein? Je vous laisse. Je peux revenir dessus. Oui, non, vous les avez lues. Je vous laisse y répondre. Notamment.
Oui, merci. Il faut dire qu'au Maroc, ce processus de généralisation de la protection sociale, elle est en cours.
Universalization of social protection is going well currently. Mr. Ortega talked about the Ministry of Finance, but there is a political aspect that is very important on which the reform relies consistently. There should be a capacity of management, and we need digitalization, and we need financing. So those are the three criteria we rely on, and there should be a collective work between all parties. As far as the informal economy is concerned, we are inside it, I would say. We have a self-employed scheme. We have health insurance. We have a retirement regime, and we are creating this scheme for those who lost their job. And we have the contribution and non-contribution regime, and we have also the direct social assistance with money transfers, and this will be part of social assistance and employability. As far as the direct beneficiaries, we talk about the families that are directly assisted. The idea is not to be covered by the family allocations, but to have an economic score to benefit. We don't have the link with the employment. There should be an active process of searching of jobs, and we are working on this. The National Agency for Social Security that is managing social security is being deployed at the national level. The territorial representation is being done, especially in city Al-Jadida. It's about accompanying the segment of people that benefit of this assistance to be able to get a job. But we need to have this articulation between the contribution and
Thank you, Mr. Lakbakbi.
non-contribution-based
This is indeed a very
scheme.
important point. As I shown on the visual support, when we talk about unemployment protection, we include unemployment insurance, but we also include unemployment or social assistance. And what is very important in the design of the system is to create the bridges, the pathway, to move from the condition of receiving unemployment assistance towards a more active engagement on the labor market and a formal employment that will allow to also move to the social insurance contributory system of unemployment insurance. Now, thank you very much for reminding this important point. We had also in the Q&A box, we also had some question about how unemployment protection can be improved to protect women or the group of the population. I don't know, Vicente, if you would like to contribute to this question. I saw that you left an interesting answer in the Q&A.
No, if
Okay. No, and if Mr. Lakbakbi, you would like also to respond to this question, and also Mr. Jatmiko, what concrete experiences did you have to also protect women? How to also link this discussion on unemployment protection to the development of the care sector? It was a question in the Q&A. Thank you. If any of you two would like to answer.
Yeah, for Indonesian case, women participation in the labor market is highly dominated in the, let's say, contractual based working, contractual based work. So the good thing, if we take a look in more detail in our system, mostly these female workers are okay. The composition of the female workers accessing the benefit is less than the male workers here. We are still trying to figure out, are the female workers have better experience to work until the end of the contract? Because the system that we have, one of the important criteria for people eligible access the benefit is those have our experience to end the working in between of the contract period. So if they end the contract on their normal contract, they are not eligible they are considered as voluntary unemployment. So this is a very rigid scheme in the beginning. We are envisioning to expand the scheme once we have a better picture of the labor market pattern.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko, for this contribution. I think the key message here is also to look at the different situation in the labor market. As we said in the introduction, the labor market is very diverse, with very diverse situation depending on which group we are looking at. And indeed, if limiting the protection to workers with long-term or permanent contract will exclude certain group like women, this can be a policy reform that can also be discussed to see how to improve the protection of certain categories of workers. I don't know, Mr. Lakbakbi, if on this question you wanted to add anything. I see that the question continues popping up in the box, which is really encouraging a lot. Yeah, thank you.
As far as coverage is concerned, coverage of women or engagement of women, there is no discrimination, there is no distinction in terms of eligibility criteria in order to benefit from the services or allocations. As far as allocations are concerned, we have daily allocations for mothers. So this is on a daily basis for mothers. I mean to say that there is no discriminatory legislation against women who can enjoy rights guaranteed by the law. Thank you. Thank you for this information. I am reading the questions that are emerging in the box.
Question about the link between extending social unemployment protection and the link with informality. So as we first responded and illustrated through the examples of Morocco and Indonesia, the unemployment insurance based on contribution from will not be immediately the answer for those working in the informal economy. Morocco is now looking at expanding to self-employed, which is a major step ahead that will also help better protecting those who are not necessarily registered. And other mechanism that can be put in place to protect workers in the informal economy in case of job loss will be certainly through non-contributory schemes or social assistance or unemployment assistance conditioned to the active search of labor. And also the other measure is to really take a step forward, a commitment to improve the active labor market policy and the services available in the public employment agencies, like job placement, support to draft a CV, support to go for an interview. Those services are not for workers in the formal economy. Those services are open to all workers. And by reinforcing the type of services, we also improve the support that can be provided to workers in the informal economy. And we also offer jobs opportunity in the formal market, supporting their transition from informal employment to formal employment. And the second message when we link unemployment protection with informality is having an unemployment insurance scheme in the country at least will prevent those who were in the formal sector to fall in informality if there's an economic shock. And that we have seen during the financial crisis in 2009, during the COVID pandemic in 2020, workers who have received benefits from the unemployment protection scheme that was rapidly deployed and expanded to support workers, especially during the pandemic, were able to rebound more quickly after the crisis and were able to return to the labor market. So this is also an important message. Having unemployment insurance in the country will prevent those who are already in the formal economy to fall in the informality and will allow those workers to go back to jobs that are suitable with their past experience and with their skills, which is beneficial for the enterprises and for the economy at all. We continue receiving questions in the chat. My colleagues are also telling me that you can openly ask questions. We still have a few minutes before wrapping up. I don't know if there's any intervention that any participant would like to make directly online. We also have opened the microphone so people can come with questions. Or if you feel that we have not yet responded to all your questions, and in the meantime, I will give a quick look at the question we have received. Yeah. So I believe that we covered most of the ground, and I believe that we covered most of the question. There was one recurrent question, and if there's any examples that unemployment protection has supported the transition to environmentally sustainable economy, the green transition, and how unemployment protection can also support the digital transition. We have examples, and Vicente is here with us. Spain, for instance, decided to move from the brown economy, the mining extraction, to the clean economy, and unemployment insurance was very instrumental at that moment to support this transition and this reskilling. We have also examples from other countries where in periods of very high temperature, heat stress, unemployment protection can also come in as a measure to compensate for the loss of income for these hours that cannot be worked, or this period of the year that cannot be worked anymore. And also the type of unemployment protection through public work program, through social assistance, or cash transfer, linked with support to help also the rural workers and the small farmers to gradually move towards type of production that will help sustaining the environment, and also we allow them to increase and modernize their production and increase their productivity, also helping them. So this package of service that can be provided to different sectors of the economy that are affected by the climate change can also help the workers transitioning to greener economy, as well as the enterprises, and in particular the small and the medium enterprises. With this last consideration on the role of unemployment protection to support the transition, I don't know if you allow me to ask our distinguished speakers if they would like, in one word, just to close themselves this seminar. If there's one word they would like to share, or one very short sentence to continue encouraging the countries to develop unemployment protection in the system. I go back in the same order. Mr. Jatmiko, is there any one word you would like to say to close this seminar? Thank you.
Yeah, Celine, thank you so much. In Indonesia case, we unfortunately are not able to share a lot with you how the unemployment benefit contribute to the transition economy, because we have a very rigid system. But one lessons learned that we think very valuable for the Indonesian case is in the last 10 years, the government of Indonesia heavily invest in the social assistance program. And at the other side, we also have a growing social security system. And before the unemployment benefit, there were very limited harmonizing intervention for these two programs. While what we note is the commitment of the government to heavily invest in social assistance is actually a very valuable program to be integrated in the social security system so that we can have the pattern, the mobility from those having social assistance benefit to move to a more self-contributing system in the social security, and then that will lead to how we build the active labor market in the future. But the commitment of the government, the harmonization of the intervention of from the government are two very important examples from Indonesian case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jatmiko, for this last closing word. Mr. Lakbakbi, if in 1 minute we would like to tell us, 30 seconds, because
Oui,
then we will not
par
have
rapport,
interpretation.
il faut dire que oui, par rapport la chose la plus
Regarding the most important thing, funding. We will always have to find a fiscal space. Funding measures need to be taken, provided that these are sustainable for the contributors' systems and for other systems. We need to find ways so that the maximum of those who do not get salaries are contributing in a certain way to the fund, and we need regular fees to be paid. We need sustainability in funding in order to be able to cover everyone and to truly be sustainable.
Mr. Ortega, I don't know if you can still, and thank you very much for still being with us despite your schedule. If there's one word you would like to share with us.
I'm sorry, because I'm in the street now. Just very briefly, question is that we need to keep working on social protection because it's the only way of doing social justice, and governments are the ones with this duty with all citizens, and for us, for Spanish cooperation, this is a question of human rights. We need to approach it with a feminist sense of doing it, and you can count on us on this endeavor. All countries and the BIT, OIT, ILO, sorry. What you're doing is excellent, and keep working all together for human rights with this feminist approach, social justice for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ortega, and thank you very much for being with us until the very last minute. Thank you. And with this last intervention, I'm very pleased. I think there's nothing else to add. I'm very pleased to close here this webinar with great thanks also, with great thanks again to our distinguished speakers. Very rich presentation. Thank you very much for the preparation and for accepting to share your amazing experience with all of us. So we will stay connected, tuned for the next webinars to come. You will receive the information through the socialprotection.org, and I wish you a very good rest of the day. Thank you.